What's up? What's up? How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Algorithm. We're here, episode 11 of this series, and I wanted to start off this new episode actually with something that we always talk about but never really discuss here. Is like, JC, what's lighting up your feeds?
What's lighting up my feed? Well, a lot of event stuff, given the fact that we're working a lot on one of our clients that happens to do events. So my algorithm the last probably 5 to 7 days has been just a bunch of ads on event companies throughout the United States and different content that they're pumping. That and just some political stuff mixed in. That's what's been lighting up my feed. But yeah, no, I actually being able to dive into we always talk about this, being able to dive into like different industries is kind of something that's really cool with what we do and about what we do. We're able to really expand our wealth of knowledge in different industries, and it's been really, really interesting and cool to be able to dive into the event space and like production in general, and seeing how many companies are doing really cool things on brand activations and experimental type marketing and production for events. So yeah, that's what's been lighting on my feed. Honestly, I know that's a boring answer, but it's been the truth. So yeah, that and a bunch of supplement stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Another client. So
yeah, I know. On my end, it's been like the overflow of like cursed AI content. Like there's just some accounts that keep popping up on my feed that always have bizarre use cases of AI. Like there's one account called Clanker Mag that they just always highlight other people using AI. Some of it's like bizarre, some of it's cool, some of it's creepy. And to me, I like looking at that Fringe stuff because it like gives you an idea of, what's on the horizon or how people can use it in like a creative or niche way. Even though it's not for like a mass public. Maybe there's an idea in there that you could like always pull out, but that definitely has been hitting on my feed on top of like the sales bro content that you and I
we've been sharing.
That's it, both the serious stuff that these sales bros like share, and it's like what they consider serious content, as well as like comedians making fun of them, which is always the funniest things. But yeah, that little kid doing like a sales talk was bizarre. This kid was like 10 years old or something. Like he looked, and he's like talking to like a bunch of entrepreneurs, talking about entrepreneurship. I'm like, sorry, bud, like you got to go through puberty first before we can talk about entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So, to me, that showcases a little bit of the scariness of what we do in our industry and like just social media in general. This kid must have been 12 years old, 13 years old, not even
barely a teenager.
Barely a teenager, and was giving speeches and conferences and talking in front of adults about how he buys and sells businesses. Like, what, dude? Like,
yeah.
What? I was watching.
It's kind of like the kid who goes up in front of class and presents a school project that was 100% done by the parents.
Yes.
Like, yeah, sure, buddy. All about P&Ls and mergers and acquisitions. Like, I'm sure you do. Like,
it's also sad. Like even if it is fake, right? But let's say it's real. Like, it's just sad. Like at that age, like you shouldn't be invested in that.
No, this kid should be playing with his friends and exploring and
100%, man.
Yeah. But yeah, besides that, which was a fun kind of topic to kind of go through, was I open up X and every single time there's like a new drop of some sort of like AI update. And then but the funny thing is how everyone reacts to it. It's like, oh, this graphic designers are cooked, or like
are done.
Yeah, everyone, this killed, the developers are done. It's like, I mean,
the latest one today was the Claude website integration with
Figma.
And literally everybody was like, it was like 10 comments in a row. Like website designers are done. It's like, no, they're just, the good ones are just going to implement this into their system and they're going to continue to charge what they're charging. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, it's always like it's always people that aren't necessarily as ingrained in the industry and they kind of dabble or are adjacently associated. They make those claims because like if you're in it, that's just like an exaggeration. That yes, it will change and it'll mean that you're not going to be doing the same things, but it's just another tool. Like people are barely adapting. Like there's still tons of people using WordPress websites. You think that those people are gonna like offboard tomorrow? No. Like,
Correct.
so there's just that. And I think the last thing for me on the feed side is the fun thing is, controlling and being a part of like these different accounts, both our agency, our personal ones, our other accounts. Like when you jump in between those, you see like a completely different feed. Like I go into Courtside Creatives and it's like all, production and video and creative and basketball. And then, I get that some of that in mind, but mixing with other stuff that's more personal. Same thing with our agency one. Like you go in there and there's a lot of like cool agency stuff and creative stuff. And it's just I think it's almost like worth it for people to have separate accounts, even if it's a hobby account, because you can get exposed to a completely different, feed of information and content that you probably, get all blended together or miss because your feed is,
Well, you can refresh your feed now. You could refresh your algorithm. Like you can kind of like update it. So that I feel like that's a really cool feature. But I agree with you. That's kind of the luxury of having so many of these different handles. And it's funny, it happens to me every once in a while where like by mistake I'll switch handles and I'll go in and I'm like, this is not my feed at all.
Yeah.
And then I'm like on 786 Sports or I'm on one of our feeds. So I agree. It's kind of cool to jump in and see like what other things. And it's what we talk about all the time too, of like, people don't realize that you are getting fed what the algorithm wants you to get fed, what's interesting you. And a lot of the times in sports and politics and whatever the case may be, like you're only going to get fed that one frame of mind. And it's really kind of cool. In general, it's a really good practice to be able to step out of that bubble. It's kind of like watching like like politics, like watching just either MSNBC or either Fox News. That's what you're getting on your feed if you are straying one way or the other. And like that, it's in sports, it's in whatever. So I think that's a really good practice in regardless to like either reset your feed or step away from it or get a different handle. So you don't have to even worry about that. You just kind of, get the other side, if you will. So
like
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Before we dive in, really exciting. So I'm this is the first time that we're taking this, or at least I am, from the new studio here in West Miami. So really cool. Shout out to West Miami and the city of West Miami. But it's our new home, Casa Cultura HQ, which houses Cultura Media House, our agency, and our digital media. So yeah, we were actually rushing last minute because I was going to take it on the camera or on my computer only. And Adrian's like, no, fuck that. Like we're a media company, bro. You gotta take it in the spot. So they set it up in true fashion, like everything here. Within 5 minutes, I was set up and I'm going live from the little, I guess it's a Cultura Talks section. Is what it would be. So fair enough. But yeah, really cool and really exciting to just be in here this week and all the stuff that we got going on. It's felt like we haven't stopped this week, which is a good thing.
For sure. So I'll put up the kind of the rundown here for us to go through. But so today we're going to pretty much be going through a few different topics, right? I think the biggest one being the Olympics. They're going on right now. I've only caught some of it, but and maybe a few ads here and there in between, but just like the Super Bowl, and also it being NBC, like even some ads that were in the Super Bowl have been translated over and been used. But there are some like specific Olympic ads that I think are worth noting that we can go through and, see what we like or don't like about them. And it's always a special moment to kind of capture that. Number two being a sports rebrand, specifically the Tennessee Titans. We'll go into what leaked and what, is on the horizon for them. And some mixed feedback on that even before it's launched. And then number three being CPG trends, which is always something that we kind of revert to. There's just constant conversation in this, new product launches or just trends in the industry that are worth discussing. And then we'll wrap it up with some of the works in progress for ourselves, right? We have some projects we've been working on that we want to kind of go through and discuss, the process and where it's at and, how we got there. So without further ado, let's jump into it. This first one actually is an ad by Comcast, and it's titled "We're All on the Same Team." And it's cool because it kind of like shows how the Olympics is this rallying kind of unifying thing where we all, even though if you're a fan of rival teams, like you can actually come together for something like this. So cool.
Thank you.
Love will keep us together. Think of me, babe, whenever some sweet talking girl comes along. Singing a song. Don't mess around, you just gotta be strong. Just stop. I've been thinking of you.
That was my favorite part. By Jim Miller.
A hard check for you.
What a moment for Team USA.
You want to watch?
You better
Look at this.
stop.
Unbelievable. And here comes Shiprin.
I've been thinking of you.
Oh,
Look in my heart
a
and
quadruple axel. Unbelievable.
That is amazing.
For 2 weeks, we're all on the same team.
That's great.
Hey, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 hours.
Comcast NBC Universal is proud to bring the Olympics home to America.
So I think it's a good kind of conversation and topic, really, just because obviously we have so much divisiveness when it comes to politics and media, to have like a moment to be like, hey, set that aside, like let's watch the Olympics, we're all on the same team here, and just, you know, obviously bringing in some celebrities there at the end, but even actors that nobody knows, just showing like the teams and showing, you know, their fandom. I thought it was a good job. A little on the cheesier side, but still gets the point across and high production value. But what are your thoughts on this one?
No, I loved it. I think the Olympics in general always kind of give you this unifying factor and something to rally around. So I loved it. Thought it was brilliant, and yeah, a little cheesy, and that's fine. Again, it's the Olympics. It's not, you're gonna have cheesy stuff. You have, you know, things that are inspirational. You're gonna have unifying, you know, messages and communication. So in general, I liked it. It was a cool angle too. I feel like they wanted. I feel like they meant politics in this. It's like, yeah, we have separate politics, but you know, we're celebrating the U.S. in these months. But yeah, they went the safe route with the sports, which fair enough. I get it. But yeah, it was well done. I just there was none of our sports teams and rivals there, but
yeah, it would have been Jets and Dolphins for sure.
Jets and Dolphins, although they have both sucked for a long time, so
yeah,
I don't know if that's a rival. You could have got well. It was NFL, so
yeah.
But yeah, it's well done. It's you know, it is what it is. It's Comcast.
Yeah. And this next one's done by Visa. I think what's interesting about this one to me was the way it was shot and the editing and just like some of the effects that were used in it to really like give it this cinematic kind of nostalgic feel while still feeling modern. But let's play it here so people can get a look at it.
From where you start, you can't see the top. You just begin to climb. You take one step, and there you are. Past Earth's insatiable gravity, headed somewhere beyond it. Somewhere colder. Always be faster than the boys. Past ice-burned lungs and doubt's freezing grasp. You climb, and you climb. Beyond every promise kept, and everything it cost, you climb, and still you climb. And then one day you get there, with all of the good and bad in hand, and realize there is no top. There's just the choice to rise.
That's cool.
So again, I thought what was impressive to me about that one really was the effects that they did with the snow. If you notice that, like, it translated across scenes, even when they were indoors. Like there was a moment where she's in the bathroom looking in the mirror, and like the entire sink is full of snow too. And obviously like the references to flashbacks, the quick cuts, having her as a smaller version of herself next to her on the lift. I thought that those were like really cool ways to integrate it, that, you know, it hits a lot of heartstrings. It makes it relatable, even though this is an Olympian, like a top 1% athlete in the world, essentially. So I think it was a good job for Visa, and the positioning and the way that they kind of wrapped it up is really powerful, I think.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the kind of the storytelling with the, I think it was the Chevy commercial that we had seen earlier in the or later last year around Thanksgiving time or Christmas time. Just because it's something inspirational doesn't mean that it needs to lack creativity, lack storytelling. Like I feel like people got lazy when there's an inspirational story because there's by default there's just heartstring, you have that emotional connection. But this was really well done. I noticed the snow stuff that was awesome. And then I love the referencing back to as a child and kind of like showing the path that it took, the quick clips of her getting hurt and the hospital visits and stuff like that with the ambulance in the background. Those are small little things that people may or may not pick up on, but it's part of the path and part of kind of her story, which again are really, really well done. And it also kind of showcases like these are, without blatantly saying it and hitting it right on the nail, like these are the 1% athletes in the world, and what they do. And you hear the crazy stories of like Phelps, and how his regimen and how many times he was training, the amount of calories he would have on a daily basis just to keep up, just to keep weight. These guys, these people, these athletes, like they're what they do, nobody else wants to do. And what they do, nobody else can do. Like they're literally a species all on their own.
Yeah.
The amount of training, the amount of sacrifice, the amount of physical abuse that they put on their bodies, and that they have to learn how to recover at a very young age. And it's incredible. And it's shot to the forefront here on Olympic years. And I love commercials like this that highlight that, because it's people see the glamour, see the gold medal, or them performing in the Olympics, but the 2 or the 4 years, depending on I guess it's 2 years, but the 2 years, actually the 4 years that they're training, they you don't see them. They're busting their ass. They're sacrificing everything. So again, how you compilate that into one video, it's very difficult, but that is why our industry exists, and it's just very well done on their end, like incredible.
Yeah. And we can save it for the end, but just some of the few times that I've tuned into some of the events, it's crazy how, like we said, these people are the best of the world, but their performance in that given moment could dictate whether they land on the podium or not, even though they might be ranked higher or just be the favorite. Like it's crazy how it all builds up to this, but all that matters is those runs that you do. And we have some examples we can talk about after, but let's get through some of these. This one's by Delta. It's called Where Champions Fly. I think this one, what I like about it too is some of the editing and the way it's put together. I think it's also leans on the cheesier side, but again, when you have like these mass appeal campaigns from big brands, like you're not going to get too many times taking risks other than, putting a face from an Olympic team and trying to make sure that, they represent your brand. But here's Delta's ad.
What does Andrew Turker possess?
I'm Sugar Teddy and Alex Sugar Teddy.
They're all completely different. They're doing it everything. You'll never make a landmark moment that will be etched in U.S. Olympic history.
So I guess what I liked about this one was the seamless kind of simple usage of animation. The typography they used was very clean and like it has like this premium feel to it, without it being like in your face and overwhelming. Obviously, what's your reason is like the thing that they kept owning in on, but some of those shots were incredible. Like they kept on doing that zoom effect or like that parallax effect where like the person would get closer and the background would get further or vice versa. And just really well shot, really well edited. Obviously, when you have athletes like this, like some of those action shots are incredible, like that freaking snowboarder doing a flip, tracking it. That's I guess the other part of these kinds of campaigns, that you get, the benefit of action video and photography, like just things that you're not going to get anywhere else, really. Like it's hard to make exciting shots about an airline or like the staff in the airline all the time, but when you splice it in with there and you got people flying and then the airplane's flying, like it's a good association builder. So yeah, I thought it was simple, but I think it was well done.
Yeah, no, all of that is true. It missed me a little bit on the storytelling. It's not, to equate these athletes working hard for a gold medal for their sport, whatever the case may be, to somebody working hard to be good at their job. It's kind of like what they're alluding to, or whatever the case may be. I feel like it misses the mark. Like these people, it's a little bit of a stretch. Like the people that work for Delta don't work hard for Delta because they love Delta. Like, and sure, as a company, that's what you want to believe, but they work hard because they have families. They work hard because they want to, they want to provide. Like I felt like there was a little bit of the deeper story there that Delta could have dove into that they didn't, and they made it very brand forward, which again, I get it, sure, but you could have still done that. Like you could have still been very brand forward by showcasing that like Delta's the company that does that for these employees, like is able to give them the platform, be able to make a livelihood for their families or whatever their goals are or the reason. In the same way that obviously that, they're alluding to the fact that they fly, these athletes places or whatever the case may be. And that's their, they're working hard for their reason. So it missed me a little bit on that. It really did. And that was kind of one of the first things that I thought of as I see like the workers like stamping something or like they're like, thumbs up. It felt like almost like a Delta video, like a Delta corporate video at points there where like, that's not really the point of this, right? The point of this is to tell a little bit of a story. And if you're gonna give a reason as to why these athletes do what they do, then give a real reason as to why your employees do what they do. And it is not to, it's definitely not to like, oh, we work for Delta. No, it's like because they have livelihoods and they want to provide and they want to, whatever that case may be, they want to improve in their careers, whatever the case may be. Felt like there was more story there, so they missed me a little bit on that. I agree with everything that you said, but they definitely missed me on the storytelling part.
Yeah, I think that there was a little bit of a disconnect on a cohesive message also, because it's like the title of this is Where Champions Fly, but then like the recurring thing was like, what's your reason, which feels like two different messages. So it's like, I think that there was probably a little bit like too many cooks in the kitchen for this one,
for sure.
And they kind of like tried mashing it all together. Whoever edited it, I give them props, because like they probably had to deal with a lot of opinions and they still made it look good, even if like you see it in passing, like you hear some of the sound effects and you see the shots and you're like, oh, it looks good. Like there might be recall just for Delta and that, but outside like a story, I feel like it lacked hitting home with the story.
And knowing what we know, and because we are on the other side of the curtain, I guarantee you what I just said and what we've just said came up at some point. It was like, hey guys, there's no cohesion here. It doesn't make sense, whatever. And they're like, fuck it, just run with it because we got to run with it.
Yeah, for
one
sure.
Of those.
Yeah. So here we have one more that actually it's more humorous. I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's by QuickBooks and it's about the Tooth Fairy. So I think this one's like a fun one. 30-second spot.
Children are expressing their disappointment after the Tooth Fairy failed to collect their teeth.
No fair, Fairy.
Not just the kids,
No word from the Tooth Fairy. What can she be doing?
Introducing the most powerful Intuit QuickBooks ever. With AI agents to do it for you and tools to help your accountant collaborate with you. So whatever's holding you back, outdo it with Intuit QuickBooks.
So I thought it was pretty simple. And it, like, in terms of the message, was cohesive. It brought in fantasy and humor, cross-generational, even there with like the hockey player. I thought it was a well done one that is easy to remember, especially if you're a parent and like you see something like that and you're like, it stands out. So I think they did a good job here.
No, they did a great job. I love when this happens, right? And I love it the other way around too. When like you see it a lot in movies, like for whatever reason, I thought Zootopia, and they do like a lot of these things where they reference like companies in real life, but they kind of like put their own twist on it in their story or in their. I love that because automatically you connect. You're like, oh, that's funny. You know, you connect to that brand or whatever. And this is the other way around too. It's also knowing your demographic. I'm sure a lot of QuickBooks demographic is probably like entrepreneurs and people that are within, you know, the 25 to 55-year-old range. And the bulk of that probably having kids and probably going through this exactly, which I am. So it 100% hits home and hits the nail on the head for me because I'm going through all of this. I work on QuickBooks every single day. Braden's losing teeth left and right like it's his job. So like this hits me square in the forehead. So yeah, I love it. It's great. It's funny. And it got a chuckle out of me. I'll remember this commercial. We always talk about, you know, commercials and stuff that we can remember. I'll definitely remember this one.
Yeah, I think this one's better than most of the Super Bowl ads, honestly.
Legit.
So, yeah.
Legit.
And then the last one we have here is by Eli Lilly, known for their pharmaceutical products, but this one's never over.
These are the elements of the scientific method. First, observe. Second, question. Third, hypothesize. Fourth, experiment. Fifth, test. 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 Question. Now start over. Observe. Question. Hypothesize. Experiment. Test. And finally, share results. Now start over.
Damn. That's great.
I thought that was a powerful one. Like instead of like the whole typical storyline arc of like, oh, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like for this, it's like, no, let's start with the scientific method. Let's lean into like what we do as a business. Like we are a science company, a pharmaceutical company, and then kind of use that and layer it in with the process of everyone has to eventually get up and do it all over again every day. And specifically for these athletes, like they fall down, they get hurt, they you know, sometimes they succeed, sometimes they don't. And that's just the story, the real story of being an athlete and being an everyday person. I think it was a good way to tie all those three things. Like A, this is our background in being like science forward. B, like we're leveraging these athletes to be, you know, part of it. And C, how do we tie it to like the average consumer and just saying like health is never over is a good one.
Well, and as a brand, which we always try to step in those shoes, put ourselves in those shoes. One of the biggest issues right now in the industry of pharmaceuticals is credibility after everything that happened with COVID and kind of the issues, and the fact that you're leaning into the science, leaning into the process, leaning into questioning, leaning into like these things that have in the last really like 5 to 7 years been, for whatever reason, controversial. Like, you know, you can't question science. They're telling themselves like, of course you do. Like you have to question because that's the only way you get to the results. And then sometimes you got to start over. So I think like very timely as a brand to understand the market, understand your industry, understand what are the pain points in your industry. And without blatantly coming out and saying it, you're basically telling the entire industry, like we're doing it different. And you're showing people we're doing it different because we're about the science process, the true scientific process of getting to the end result. So I thought, like, again, we always talk about how as a brand you can A, say what you do, but B, talk about the pain points in the industry and in your brand that are relevant to the end user, and how you can dress that up and dress that message up so that it's received by, you know, communication, so that it's received by the end user. This one hit me again straight in the forehead. Like I loved it. Loved it. Whoever wrote it, whoever was a part of this, really understood the depth as to where the pharmaceutical industry is at right now, and what are the issues, what are the pain points, and how to communicate to the end user by making the brand a relatable, like at the end of the day. And by the way, this brand has been at the forefront of a lot of the new GLP-1s that are coming out. Like they are really making waves right now in the pharmaceutical industry, and you see why. Like I think that their messaging and their brand and their marketing is top across the board.
They also just like are very counter to what you're used to seeing in
100%.
the pharmaceutical company, like very cheesy lifestyle based stuff with names of products that you can barely pronounce, and it's like I think that they're just doing a way better job of differentiating themselves and being relatable in this industry that again has like this a bad taste in people's mouths of what they are and what they stand for as an industry. So they have an uphill battle, but I think they're clearly seeing like the path forward.
Great job.
Good job. Yeah. Great. So that wraps up the Olympic side of it. I think the last thing that I wanted to comment on when we were talking about, athletes and how great they are. I noticed, like, I watched some of the figure skating the other night. And it was like this one American dude, Ilya, who's like, everyone says like this dude is the only one that could do this like quadruple axel, like making moves that nobody else can do, and hyped them up. And there's other guys that are also like in that tier of like probably gonna get silver, bronze. And out of nowhere, it seemed like 80% of the people who performed that day fell. Like I don't know if it was something in the ice or like something was happening and they were trying things that they weren't used to trying, but it was just shocking. And like the guy from Kazakhstan won it. It was like the most random, the guy who was like nowhere near being considered. So it just shows you, like, I think that's why when they get to the Olympics, I mean, people always talk about medals and all that, but I mean, like the fact that you get there should be enough. Like that alone, because you can't really control that much what's going to happen. You can control your performance, but just have like a bad moment or like a little lapse in a time, or I don't know, a speck of snow lands in the wrong spot and you slip. I don't know what it could be, but it just shows like I think that there should be a little bit more grace with some of these athletes. Like, yes, there's a lot of pressure already being there. The fact that they're Olympians and the fact that under 1% of the world gets to do that is impressive enough. So just wanted to call that out.
Agreed.
So our next topic here is we always like talking about Rebrand, specifically when it gets into the world of sports. And this got leaked out last week that the Tennessee Titans were going to do a brand refresh where they're keeping the name, but their identity is definitely leaning back into the Houston Oilers look and feel. You kind of here. I think it was I don't know if it was Fanatics or one of these like apparel stores that kind of leaked an item that had the logo on it, but you could start seeing like what it looks like on a helmet. I think it looks very clean. It has like the mix of like nostalgic modernism. It almost also reminds me of like it's like Captain America and Tesla had a baby.
That's a good one.
It kind of has that vibe for it. Obviously, the Oilers look and feel is in there, but yeah, it was like on this website on Fanatics, yeah, they released this little plush ball by accident early, and that like got people going crazy. They're like, what does that? And so it's been confirmed already. But what's crazy has been like the mixed reviews here, because I don't know, this first one here, this guy's saying like it's truly immediately becomes one of the worst in the NFL.
Disagree.
Downgrade that continues the absolute terrible trend of minimalism in the sports, shows some uniqueness, not just some lazy circle logo. And I'm like,
I don't think there's minimalism at all in this. I think there's a lot of depth to this logo. Like,
I think also my favorite one actually is like this one. This guy says, okay, so I rolled my eyes over all the love that going back to the Oilers colors gets, and the new logo is a bit underwhelming, but dang, it looks pretty great on this helmet. And then someone chimed in like, yeah, it looks incredible. I'm like, sometimes you got to look at it applied. Like you can, not on a little plush doll. Like you got to see it on the uniform. You got to see it on a helmet, and you got to see how it looks. But here's the one that I agree with the most. This guy nails it. He goes, the Titans logo has been around for 27 years, and I've never heard it described as iconic or top 5 until reports of the rebrand. That is fact. I always thought, honestly, that it was in this weird in between of design where it was like trying to be early 2000s with a little bit of depth, but it lacks the depth because, like, why does that T have shading but nothing else has shading?
Correct.
So it feels incomplete. It's like either give it contextual shading all the way around so it has that 2D, 3D feel, or make it flat, which I think is easier to do, and it still retains the core of it. Also, that flame behind it.
What is exactly? What's the flame? It makes no sense.
And it also makes it more different. Like it's such a weird shape that to fit it onto a lot of different applications, you're forced to kind of reduce the size of it because of like this thing that's hanging off the end of it, as opposed to like it being centralized. And you're like, boom, you can make the freaking circular thing, the shield, just bigger and prominent. And so I don't know. I definitely relate more to what this guy here talks about because it's true. I've never heard anyone talk about the Titans branding being top tier. I don't know about you. What do you thought? What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. And you said that, I think that you said this to me last week, and I've always been a OG Oilers logo fan. I loved this logo. I thought it was very simple, but it made sense. I love the old jerseys and the old colors. So I was always a big fan. Just like the Bucks. I love the Bucks original logo. Like I don't like their logo now. I like their original logo. I like their original colors. The creamsicles I think pop, and I think the same thing with this. Like I love that they're going back to it. The minute I saw the logo, I think I texted you like within minutes. I was like, I love it. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I love what they did. I love that they're going back to the colors. They're letting the colors speak as well, which I think is underutilized in sports. Like we try to do too much with the fucking logo, and nobody. A lot of the times, like like you said, like the logo might not be applicable in these different formats. Like it's going to be on a helmet all the time. It's going to be on a jersey all the time. So you gotta see how it's going to look there and let that speak. Let the colors speak. And I think that you'll probably scroll down now, but there's another rendering of it that has like the colors, the jerseys, stuff like that. It looks amazing. I love it. I love it. And I love that they're reverting back to kind of the original look and feel in the 1980s through 1996. Like to me, it makes sense. I feel like more teams need to go towards this. We talk about it all the time. Like that whole 2000s retro logo, kind of phase that all these teams went through, they need to revert back because they were just better logos. They were well done.
Yeah, and I think so this is just the history of the Houston Oilers, like their original logo from 1960. Funny enough, like you see go from a cowboy wearing like a cowboy hat to then they put like a hard hat or like a miner's hat, like a work hat. And then they put like this on an actual helmet, which is always confusing when you put like a helmet logo on a helmet. So like these things. So they're like, hey, let's extract it down to its core, which was this, which made total sense, right? Like you're the Oilers, like this is an oil rig, like keep it simple. Before it was like all here in the background, very difficult to read, like put it to the forefront, make it just more iconic and easy to identify. Even like the extension from this one to down here, where like they gave him more of like an angled, pointier, directional look, which has more of a dynamic feel than the wider one. And I think that this is iconic. I think it's a good thing to have an homage to that. Up here was where they had the first renderings, which I think is just a Photoshop kind of look, but
that looks good.
Yeah, even just this, like that powder blue with the red is a good combo that nobody else owns right now in the NFL. So and down here I actually put a reference, like the Houston University of Houston, the college football team, actually they did an homage to it, and I think like this is something they should get inspiration from, because like this is a good mix of like using the color but then using the Houston logo and other elements, but like it's sleek. It has that both retro meets modern with the styling of obviously the newer jerseys. So like I think somewhere in here is where like they should land. I don't know what the final jerseys are going to look like and what the iterations are, but I think that just people need to chill out. You guys weren't talking about the Titans logo and their uniforms anytime in recent history. So now that it's changing, it's kind of bizarre for some people to be so mad at it. I think it's one of those things like anything else where like people are gonna bitch about it at first and then they're gonna adapt it and like it over time.
Yeah, and for that guy that says that they immediately are the worst logo in the league, I disagree. That belongs solely to the Jets and will always belong solely to the Jets.
I would say it also belongs to the Browns. So
oh geez, yes, that's a good point.
Like I don't know who loves it's.
What is your favorite? All right, on that topic, what is your favorite NFL combination, like jersey, logo, etc.? Branding, I guess you would say.
I honestly like the Saints a lot. I like the black and gold. I like the black and gold with the floor. It's so classic and simple. It can be elevated when they have the black with the gold trim. So I always liked that. I did think that the Steelers had an iconic one too, right? Like I think black and gold and black and yellow are two color like combos that stand out to me. And then in recent history, the Seahawks obviously like their combos, they're like a good example of like, even though their jerseys from back in the day were nice and their color scheme, like what they've done more recently, like it's kind of dope with like the more cutting edge stuff. It helps when you're in Oregon and Nike's there and they can make you the dopest jerseys around. So I would say those are like the three ones that I feel like have they stand out to me.
Yeah, I would agree on the Seahawks. That's my number one. I agree with you. I love their old jerseys, but I also love their new jerseys and their new style probably equally. And just that's a testament to their branding and to whoever's in that department that's done their stuff. So I agree with you. Not because I'm a homer, but the vintage Dolphins that they've been wearing, to me, that's one of the best like jersey logo combinations in the league. And then to me, I said it earlier, I love the original Bucks logo and uniform combination. It goes so well. The when they wear the all white vintage with it's just something about that orange and that white and the way that it's like that I don't know, what do they call it? The powder orange, creamsicle. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That creamsicle kind of like look and feel I love. So those would probably be my top three. People are gonna say I'm a homer because I'm picking Miami and Tampa, but they really do like those vintage Dolphins jerseys. I guess that's what, like 60s, 70s jerseys. Those are spectacular, man. They really are.
The honorable mentions for me would probably be like the Ravens all black jerseys with the purple trim. Like that looks hard. Like sometimes you see that and you're like, they look mean.
Yeah, because I don't like their all purple jersey.
Yeah, I don't like it. I like it when it's pretty much like all black with just like purple trim. And then specifically the vintage green Eagles jersey that they've been using recently.
Oh, the old school. Yes.
That one has a nice green color. Like it's funny how like they own that, and like the Jets have had that in front of them that they could use, and they like, it's they're the only two teams really with that kind of green, and the Eagles just know how to use their green way better than the Jets, in my opinion. But yeah.
Agreed.
All right, so for the fun part here too, CPG trends. Look, I mean, for those of you that haven't followed Snackshot or Andrea, she's always like in the cutting edge of what's going on in this industry. I love this first tweet. It's very what's the kind of like vocabulary being used today is hilarious. But she says CPG in 2026 is pretty much fart maxing versus muscle mogging. Which translation for people,
fiber and protein, baby.
Yeah, it's pretty much just fiber and protein. And it's so true. You see that those two call outs on any new item that comes out, it's pretty much the amount of fiber it has or the amount of protein it has. They're like the two things they just keep coming up for obvious reasons. We talked about this at the beginning of the year with the GLP-1s thing being a prominent thing. So yeah, being backed up, constipated, you need more fiber than usual, and you need more protein than usual, because if you're taking that kind of stuff, like you're going to lose some muscle and you got to make sure you retain some of it. So yeah, I think she's spot on with that. It's really like fiber and protein are like the two big trends that you're seeing since last year entering this year.
There's literally protein in everything, man. I actually brought one yesterday to the studio. So now at Sam's Club, my dad has been buying them, and I was skeptical at first, but they're actually really good. They're so clear protein is a big thing now too, right? So like Isopure was doing it for a long time. I think we talked about this. But they're doing it. Have you had the sparkling ice that you can get like at Publix? They're like the carbonated, and they have like mango, whatever. But this one's in an aluminum can, and it's essentially that with 30 grams of protein. And I was like, what? And so I had it the other day. It's, I guess because they're trying to mask some flavors. It is incredibly sweet, like overpoweringly sweet. So my dad's like, cut it with water. I'm like, you have to cut it with water because it's very sweet. But what I've been doing is I've just been getting like club soda or whatever, just like anything carbonated, and I'm cutting it with water. And it is really good. It's like if I'm having like a fruit punch or whatever the case may be, 30 grams of protein, man. It is absolutely wild. And it's really good. So yeah, there's protein in everything. The other day, Mari bought, I don't know why she bought Pop-Tarts. We never had Pop-Tarts in our house. And she got the protein Pop-Tarts. So I looked at it. I was very skeptical because this is my industry. And I was like, And I looked at it. It's the same amount of grams of sugar. It's the same everything, except they just added somehow. I don't know where the fuck they got it from, but they added 10 grams of protein, which I assume if you look at the old Pop-Tarts, it was probably something like 6 or 7 grams of protein. And they just added a few more grams somewhere, probably some powder or some shit. And then they ended up at 10, and now they can call it, high protein or whatever. But it was a Pop-Tart. It was the same thing. So yeah, there's protein in everything. And I agree with this. The next slide there, the next boom in drinks is creatine. Yeah. And if you're in that industry, I know it. We one of the manufacturers that we work hand in hand with, they are working on a lot of different things with creatine, a lot of different things with protein. People are trying to get protein in gummies. People are getting creatine in gummies. To me, like what's really taking creatine to the next level is the cognitive function component of creatine that people are realizing and noticing. And I think that's going to be, I agree, that's going to be the next boom. So whoever can get, creatine energy and maybe some L-theanine or something in a gummy or whatever the case may be, it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the creatine thing is like a no-brainer. Like I've been trying out creatine gummies as well as with the powder. Just to see, sometimes it's easier to just pop a couple gummies instead of having to mix in the powder when you're on the go. So I think that it's going to be like a good option for people to have that before really didn't exist. And now having it in a drink format that's pre-mixed is probably like another good way going about it. And then, also on the protein side, like here's another example of one of those sparkling protein examples that you were talking about. This one here at the bottom left has 27 grams of protein in it, and it looks like super high end with like the aluminum can and obviously the photography they used. I'm sure this is a premium drink, like it's not cheap. So I can imagine what it costs for to sell, 6 packs and 12 packs and cases of it. So I'm always curious.
That one has electrolytes, I believe, too.
Yeah. It's a mix of stuff. But while this is all trends, like I feel like this is like the initial wave of these things, and then some of them are going to stick around, and some of them are really going to fall off because it's just we're still in a shaky economic situation, and this still becomes a nice to have, right? Mm-hmm. And when you have to cut somewhere, you're not going to keep spending the 40, 50, 60 bucks you spend on a monthly basis or whatever cadence to get these drinks. You know what I mean? So I think that it's a good kind of like first wave to see what sticks around, but I think we're going to see a lot of them come up and a lot of them go away, honestly.
And what's going to happen too, which I saw the other day as well, is you're going to have a lot of these RTDs, right? Which is ready to drink, but very similarly to like the baked goods and the functional foods industry, is that you're going to end up with a lot of companies that are just making the powders, like making the premixes, right? So you saw that a lot in that functional foods industry, which is like the ready to make. You pop them in your little tin foil, whatever, you throw them in the oven, and you have protein brownies or protein cookies, and they're like half the cost because they're taking away a lot of the labor. So I think you're gonna get the same thing. You're gonna get a lot of the clear protein right? And you see it in the industry. Like, yeah, ready to drinks are great, but the bulk of the business is really in the big tubs, the powders, the all that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
But you're gonna get that, and I've already seen the clear proteins. It's been out for a minute. Isopure, like we talked about, and if I could just add this to my sparkling ice, it's gonna be a lot cheaper. That sparkling ice cost me 50 cents as opposed to $2.50 for a protein drink.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing that we're seeing in the frozen aisle is kind of like a little bit of a glow up in some of the packaging that you're seeing, because also we're seeing there's better methods in manufacturing of how do you like freeze preserve certain items and how do you like formulate things for frozen aisles, and they're just more accessible than before. You can transport them more than ever before, and you're just seeing innovation in terms of these formats, like this whole like snackable bites, chef inspired bowls, better for you desserts, and yeah, packaging that both could feel very playful like this one and very premium. So I felt like you usually go down the frozen aisle and it's kind of like bland packaging for the most part. Like there are some that stand out, but there is like this weird kind of like, it seems like they've settled for packaging, and now it seems like there's been like a little bit of a uptick in more creative, more like some of it's vibrant, some of it's more premium. So yeah, this quote here from this source highlight, driven by post-pandemic behavior shifts and improved product quality, frozen categories are seeing rapid innovation in formats and textures, flavor experimentation, and packaging that emphasizes experience, not compromise. So it's something to keep an eye out when you're in the grocery store next time. Go take a look, especially if like you go to grocers that have more cutting edge stuff that comes out. It's something I'm going to be on the lookout for, because I've noticed that there's definitely a lot more frozen foods that are healthier, not just like loaded with sodium or loaded with all these other preservatives that usually you need to to have a good product or have it last. Yeah. So that kind of wraps up the CPG side of it, and then we could jump into some of our work selfishly. We can kind of go through here. We finally wrapped up and saw the packaging come to life for one of our clients' session specialty coffee roasters. And here's kind of just like a glimpse of this carousel we put together showing the process of what it took to bring it to life, right? Again, this is a coffee roaster that's based here in South Florida. It's in Oakland Park, and they roast their own original blends as well as single origins that they source from different parts of the world. And really, the impetus and like the idea behind it is like this idea of respecting and protecting the sesh being like that moment, that pause you have in the morning or in the afternoon where you can have a moment to kind of like take a deep breath, make your preferred choice of coffee, and then sip and savor it so that you can get on with your life and get back into like the hustle and bustle of everyday life. So that was kind of like the idea behind it. And obviously in our process, always when we go through these workshops, when we go through these exercises, we ask a ton of different creative questions to try and see where the brand could land, different areas of inspiration we can explore. And then we start going and gathering all these visual cues, these visual references to mood board and make the stylescapes. And at a glimpse here, these are like the 3 different stylescapes. We did this a while back, but just for a refresher, we did one that looked more urban ritual and has this like old world meets new world. Here you could kind of see a different view of it. It's just like type forward, color that pops, and typography that's very prominent. There's simplicity, but there's a little bit of grit. There's a little bit of texture to it that makes it feel more grounded and relatable, while still having that bold in your face look and feel. And then this one we call the Swamp Modernism, and it's more of like the warm tones, very much inspired by the Florida Everglades and the warmth of the tropical environment, and the greens and the yellows and oranges and all this stuff. Definitely more of a laid back vibe. You could see here inspiration by even things like tattoo art, and that kind of like American traditional art. And this is kind of like a blend of the two, more of like, we called this one Sunset Sound System, and it had more of like vibrant colors and a good mix mash of different things, very music forward, very much like leaning into, whether you have an eclectic taste in music and you're a little bit eccentric, like there's less clean look here. It's more of like allowing things to fall where they land, and letting things speak without everything being in the proper place, you know. So I thought that this one is also like, you take yourself a little bit less serious. Like you could tell here with some of the imagery of like the guy pouring it from underneath the water, and you know, so there's a little bit of humor injected into that one. And so we ended up going with that second option, and we started, you know, putting together different things like iconography, typography, color palette, all those things to kind of bring it to life. And then we put the finishing touches. So at a glance, this is kind of like a little bento box look at, you know, what the logo looks like, the icon, the typography, the colors, even custom little icons and patterns that we made that we can use. Specifically, like look at this S here. That's like a combination of the two S's here in the middle of session. You just kind of connected them and made it like a frame that you can put images inside of. And so it becomes like a little visual cue. We also ended up using that in the packaging, but we applied it to even everything on social media. Like, what does this start to look like when you apply it on your Instagram profile? And then seeing it come to life on packaging and merch is awesome. Like, here's that S I was talking about. It became kind of like the little barometer to see if it's like light versus dark. You know, even just like the arrangement of, you know, what we taste, what the vibe notes are, little call outs that need to be there, like roasted on, so that they could fill in, you know, what date it was roasted on to give that personal touch. And then also shout out to our other team member, Adrian Lorenzo, for he was contracted to kind of put this mural inside of their actual roasting facility. And, you know, going with the tagline, protect the sesh, using things like the typography we chose, and then adding his touch with, you know, the artwork that goes inside the lettering of sesh. But yeah, just a closer look at, you know, what the packaging looks like. This is one of their blends called Double Nines. You see like the alligators here playing dominoes, as well as like their single origins. So Ethiopia, Rwanda, they have Colombia, they have Guatemala. So they have a bunch of different single origins that you can pick from as well. And yeah, like just seeing it on the packaging and seeing some of this photography highlight it is always rewarding to see, like the ideas that were just on a screen or on a paper now coming to life in print form, and seeing people also share it on their social media, and some people that we know as well. So that's just kind of a glimpse at it. And here also is just like a
let it flow, let it
BTS.
Sash in the glow, let it show, protect the sash, protect the sash, protect the sash, protect the sash.
So dope.
So it's just always rewarding to be able to have a hand in like the process, and then also have like a hand in the execution afterwards, right? Like making sure that how it gets applied to packaging, how it gets applied to a mural, how it gets applied to merch. That's always like a fun part of the process, because sadly, you know, we've all been involved in brand projects where like you hand off assets and then they try and take care of that stuff, and it doesn't necessarily get executed or applied in the proper way that you think it should have been. So in this case, we appreciate Session and Bobby and Andy for trusting us with it, because it helped us really see it through all the way. And we look forward to like more, you know, opportunities with them.
And I think that's an important point too, right, for brands. And I agree with you. Like, shout out to Sesh, and shout out to the way that you know they've approached this, which is understanding that it is not just a logo and it is not just a typography and then that's it. Like, there is layers after you build the brand, into how it's applied and how it speaks and how it communicates. And you know, there's a lot of layers post just creating, you know, the brand book or the guidelines or the identity. So kudos to them to, you know, we're in constant communication with them. We're working actively with them, and kudos to them for understanding that. And I think more brands should understand that there is legs post, post just creating the brand and the brand identity. Now, with that said, I think that speaks to our uniqueness, your uniqueness specifically, in the fact that we don't just kind of hand off a brand to you. In some cases, yeah, sure, we do. But the way that we're built and the type of agency that we are, we have legs post just building your brand and your brand identity. That's actually where we shine, is in how to apply your brand, and how to speak to the consumer at the end of the day. And yeah, so kudos to them, kudos to you. I've said this in the past. This was one of the first projects, if not the first project, that we took on together a while back, and it was fun going through that process. It's always fun learning somebody else's process and how they work through this. I'll never forget, some of those first meetings that we had, where we really dove into like what is a session and what is sesh and what is the ritual. We all were talking about how much coffee to us means like a meditation at the end of the day. And a lot of the times, and I wake up very early. To me, like getting my coffee in the morning and pouring my espresso at 5:30 in the morning when I wake up, and there's nobody's bothering me. I'm able to sit down with my journal and write and drink my espresso. Like, to me, that there's a euphoria there. Like I'm in my zone. I'm at peace. And there is really something to that. And I think, when developing a brand, like those things matter. Like that story, it didn't just get to session because it was session. Like there was many layers there that we had to go through to be able to get to like, well, what is the brand? Why is the brand? And why the name? Why the logo? Why protect the sesh? Again, that wasn't just something that was thrown up on a wall. Like there was many meetings and many ideations to like why it meant that. And it was at the end of the day, that ritual, right? Of that meditation, that ritual. And I think throughout the brand, there's so much sprinkled in of us as well, like of our heritage, of where we grew up. And again, a lot of people think Miami and think like beaches and think downtown or whatever the case may be, but Miami is really the Everglades, and Miami is nature, and Miami is, what was here before us. And there's a lot of protect the sesh in that as well. Like we as Miamians, especially I think our generation, like we're very big into protecting the Everglades and bringing back, regulation for the Everglades. And I think like there's a lot in the brand. It's crazy when you say it out loud, but at the beginning of this brand, this is all conversations we were having of like, why sesh, why session, why the name, why the alligator. So I think well done across the board. And again, there always has to be kudos to the brand, because the brand has to be open enough to accept certain things. Sometimes it gets testy. Sometimes you don't agree with the brand. You don't agree with the owner. The owner is always going to have the lens on of being the owner and having some passion for that brand that you're coming outside looking in and being able to give a perspective that they don't have. So across the board, really good project, and again, kudos to the brand to be able to be open to everything that we were giving, and really work hand in hand with us to create this beautiful coffee brand.
Yeah, and I think what's also been like fun as part of this process too was the different layers we went through, because like we did explorations in music as well. And even the music that was used in that second reel was created with all the inspiration and iterations of, Bobby literally gave us an entire like Spotify playlist of music that inspired him, that he felt was kind of associated with the brand, that the brand could have legs. And it was a good mix of stuff, like talking about Ethiopian jazz and hip hop and even like old school rock and a bunch of these different genres that, cross-pollinated, and also goes back to the origin of some of the coffee he sources. Like you're talking about, you literally are pulling coffee from Ethiopia, from Colombia, from these different parts of the world. You're blending some of them. So there's the remix, the mashups, and there's some of that. And we get to explore that and find music that either we created or we also find some that we curate to actually associate with the brand. Because again, we're in this world now where you're going to create a commercial, a reel, anything else. Like what's the sound that's being associated with it? And having that exercise go through the way it did, and it made it so much easier moving forward to create on behalf of the brand, other than just like, oh, let's figure it out as we go and like maybe the brand owner is not as receptive to an exercise like that. Like, I think that that's always a good sign to have someone that is willing to think outside the box and have an agency or a creative team take them through that exercise, because a lot of times you get stuck in that jar. You're looking out and you don't really get to see all 360 angles of what's going on. You have to like say, hey, this is the industry you're in. This is your consumer. This is you. You know your product. You know your brand. But like, there's these other forces at play here that you need to consider, as well as another team that can maybe help you bring it to life. So again, it was a fun project. We have others that we'll save for another time, including like Event Factor and some of the other brands that we've been working on. But wanted to wrap up here with the open floor. I don't know if anyone else has some thoughts here, but I just wanted to share some of these things that came across my feed that I thought were interesting, just visually, from a compelling standpoint. Like this brand Sabotage, I just was really drawn to kind of like the entire look and feel of this brand, the grunginess that it has. That everything is kind of like offset, stamped in there. It doesn't have like this super clean look, but the typography speaks of something that's way higher end. So it has like a good mix of that old world meets new world, kind of like that first direction that we explored for Session. I think that this is a really cool application. And like they use little things like we sabotage to help communicate. And so it's like Adidas X Montclair, they had a whole capsule for them. It's a cool thing. I'm really drawn to these kinds of things, like very like old world, almost ancestral sculptures and items and relics. I think that these are like something very powerful to that. Even just something like
That's
this.
cool.
Yeah, seeing like the logo being applied with all these different textures and applications.
Cool.
This looks like like they have like a whole file on them, like sound designer, composer, set designer, producer. So I think this is really cool as like a internal. It was done for internal purposes, but they obviously served as like a portfolio piece for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like super well done. So I just wanted to call it out because I thought it's just, you see how the identity and the visual language gets applied in so many different ways, and it feels like it's all cohesive. So
yeah, agreed. Super well done. I would love that thing they did with the brand. That would be cool to do with our logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, different textures that you created. We have textures, so that'd be really cool.
For sure. So even here, like just this whole little bleed effect and the paper texture in the background, just it gives that weathered feel. And this was made on a computer. Like, so it's crazy. Like, that this stuff was made digitally, but to give it that feeling that it was possibly printed and reprinted and faxed and scanned and kind of distressed is a cool thing. So again, shout out to these guys. They did a really good job with some of this stuff. And then another example is like JKR Global. They've worked on Yahoo. Sadly, Yahoo is kind of like a dying brand, but I think that they did. What's cool is that Yahoo specifically, like when they own an icon like the exclamation point, and I always love this. It's almost like you can tell like 50 kids to draw their version of some sort of subject, and they'll give you 50 different versions. They'll all be creative. I think they did a really good job here. I don't know how much of it was just internal teams or they hired other artists, but take a look at some of these examples.
So cool.
So
the last one's fun.
Just being able to create an exclamation point with so many different like visual, applications and subject matters is cool. Looking at it again, it definitely was like one team because like the illustration style was very consistent. But yeah, I love this. It's like people think about, it's one and done. That's it. It's just the purple exclamation point. But it's like, no, you can do like real creative teams. Like think about like what else can we do with this thing to really give it legs. And that's when you have like a good team behind you, or at least like a creative idea that has legs. So
agreed. Yeah, no, really well done. You've turned me on to that in the last year and a half with working you on the creative side, and like how you can get one brand or one icon, logo, whatever the case may be, asset, and be able to recreate that in multiple fashions, layers, textures, different things. Like I find that to be really cool. You do it a lot with the owl, with our owl, and we're going to continue to explore a lot more with the owl. We're going to do the window wrap here at Casa Cultura, and just like different ways that we apply that owl. So I agree. I love that. It's really creative, and I do agree with the statement you just said, which is like that shows a lot about your creative team. To be able to like dive deep into how do we create different assets from this one, IP or asset that we have. So love that.
Yeah. And then the final two things are both from Google here. Again, Google rolling out onslaught on the AI front. One is it says soon we'll be rolling out a new shopping ad format in AI mode. So they're going to have like a format where retailers fit naturally into the conversation and show up in key moments of discovery. So you have like an example here. This is super B2B, obviously, with the way this is presented.
Yeah.
So here you see a little sponsored thing. I guess this makes sense for retailers. So it's like, all right, we suggested this item, right? We suggested this item. Well, where can you get it? Well, all right. Well, Target, Best Buy, whatever, and you get paid to be there as just like the natural next step in it, which is what I think a lot of people thought was going to happen with
ChatGPT.
Which I mean, it's only in the free plan, so I don't get exposed to it yet, but I'm curious to see what that experience is like, because I think that you knew this was coming, you knew that, and that's why like Claude kind of painting the picture of like, hey, we're not going to bring ads, because you knew that Google was going to do it. That's their entire model. And then OpenAI said they were going to do it. So now you can't run away from it.
It's the Amazon. Wow. What Amazon has done to the industry. I was trying to find a word, but what Amazon has done for the industry, because that's basically Amazon. Like you go on, you search for a product, pops it up, you get to buy it right there. Like, we're getting to that, and Google, needs to keep up.
Well, Amazon also does it now when you're watching Prime. Like they'll do an ad, and then there'll be a pop-up on your screen that says add to your cart. So it's like you're watching TV, and now there's like a shopping element already integrated that's like a click away. That before was like, oh, you have to go and search and pull it up. Now it's like click this thing, and Prime is connected to your Amazon account, so it will literally add it to your cart, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. So
there's no hiding from it with these like behemoths. And then the last thing that they literally launched today, this was at noon. So they had this thing that came out last year called Pomeli, and it's really for like brands to use to create assets. And they had a feature called Photo Shoot. So it helps you like upload an image, and then you can create, high quality customized product shots for, in different manners. So here's like an example of this. So again, it's not like this is something completely new, because I'm sure there's other AI platforms that have done this. I think Photo Room was one of them too, that would do stuff like this, at least like take your photo and then like apply it to a new background. But now this is taking it and putting it in completely different environments. I mean, I think for basic things, like when you're on a product page and you just want to show the photo in a cleaner thing, it's easy to clean it up now. Maybe you want to associate it with like a different background, and it's, still, what's funny is I know people are going to be like, oh, it's AI slop, like this is not, but if it's just putting it in a setting, like that table one that just had like warmer tones and like a little, little accent items. It's like, by the way, a photographer was going to do that in a room that's not in Sicily with the window, like that's a fabricated light, that is a fabricated set. So it's like, I get that this doesn't help specifically photographers, but it also makes it where like photographers have to get more creative and do things that can't just be easily created by AI, and that have a real lens to it. So that's just a reality of where we're at right now. I think that for tactical, low level product shoots, there will be more people using things like this to kind of like at least have a couple options when you go to a product page or even on an Amazon page, a listing. So it's more of the other stuff, the lifestyle stuff, that you should still go out and find real people and do a real shoot that's truly authentic to your brand and truly
correct,
cool, and not just like, oh, I can one click away and do this, and that's fine. There's all this stuff. It might be easy and like convenient right now, but the second people start catching on and they feel like, well, there's nothing differentiating you anymore, then you start losing some of that lasting power, and the conversions will go down and the efficiency and effectiveness will go down. So again, with anything, it's a trend that happens and then it'll taper off. At one point, like Gary Vee always says, like he was sending emails and there was a click rate of 90%, like an open rate of 90%. Same thing with like Google Ads, like crazy, like click-through rate. Not anymore. Things get saturated, so things don't work as well. So like anything else, just learn about it, adapt to it, try it out. If it sucks, move on. If it works for you, use it tactically, and then, figure it out.
Yeah, one of the things, Astrid, one of our designers, have been using this for a while now. I don't know specifically the Google Labs one, but she's been using certain versions of this and only for specific things, right? Like you were saying, like some Amazon, type listings and stuff like that. But I think we do a really good job here too of utilizing the physical with the AI. And we do photo shoots, we do video shoots, and I think like where you could really differentiate yourself there, especially nowadays, is in high quality video, high quality. Like AI can't replicate like cuts right now. It can't replicate these transitions. Can't replicate, like there's a lot of things that it can't replicate that a good creative eye and a good DP understands and is able to make unique videos and unique situations. Photos are tough because it's just recreated 15 different product shots and how quickly. So that's a tough one. But to your point, like, is that really what's going to differentiate you? A picture of your product on a table or something like that? Like that's just a good to have, but is that really what's going to set you apart when somebody goes to your Shopify, somebody goes to Amazon, or whatever the case may be? No, it's not. It's going to be the good reviews. It's going to be the videos that you can create. It's going to be the product videos that you can create, like the lifestyle, like you were saying. So those are the other things that you have to do that that AI really can't recreate right now. And there's a lot of things that are still different that will differentiate you from those easy photos or whatever the case may be. So I agree with you. And like everything, if you can fit it in your day-to-day and how you can get images and assets a little bit more efficiently as a creator, then great. But you're still going to have to take the videos. You're going to still have to create. You're going to still have to differentiate yourself in the market. So
yeah, my last point here is that this only proves to me that being on the forefront of knowing how to identify things that might be on the fringe now, but will eventually become more like sought after or respected, is the reason why I told you I have like cursed AI things, and like I follow accounts that they're natural create, like they're like purists, and they create things that look like ugly and grotesque, or they look like like nothing is set in place. It's very like has that human error to it. And I think that's the rawness, that kind of stuff is what people to younger generations are going to continue to seek out and lean into and gravitate and resonate with. So it's not like only one way or another. It's like it's all depends on your audience and what you're trying to achieve, but be on the lookout that's what you should own when you're doing stuff that you're actually shooting and producing and doing, because it's what's going to separate you. Like, what's the thing that only a human really could have done or seen or like appreciated? It's going to be difficult to tell AI to grab that glass jar of skin lotion and tell it to smash it on the floor and then have someone like pick it up and rub it on their face without it looking bad. Right? So like that's only something that feels like it could be a human, or that could be at least directed by a human in a way that's gonna like, oh, that feels natural, that feels like something that I that's happened to me. I've literally dropped something and it's smashed all over the floor. So those are the kind of things that I think good creative eyes will continue to explore and try and bring into their work, and brands that embrace that will probably win in the long run. And that's where I see some of this stuff going.
Agreed. Yeah.
Cool. So that kind of wraps up this episode of The Algorithm. Tune in about 2 weeks. We'll be back. But again, if you're not following already, please subscribe on Cultura Talks. Follow us on Cultura Creative Co. on Instagram. Without further ado, I'm David Verjano, and this is JC Perez. Thank you, guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you, guys.